Welcome to Never Too Late for Fitness Radio, bringing baby boomers proven strategies and innovative products for getting fit, staying fit, so you can live a longer, healthier, and happier life. Here's your host, best-selling author and fitness advocate, Phil Ferris.
This is Phil Ferris, and welcome to our show. Never Too Late for Fitness Radio provides answers and straight talk about fitness, nutrition, and healthy lifestyles for people over 50. During each show, we talk to real health and fitness experts solving real problems with proven solutions you can apply in your day-to-day life. My guest today is Richard Loniewski, owner of Online Fitness Pro, and he helps you live a longer, healthier life all over the world. Richard uses his 30 years in the fitness industry to craft personalized fitness programs that helps his clients achieve their health and fitness goals. Thank you for being on the show today, Richard.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks for having me.
Great. Now, you've been in the fitness industry for a long time, and you've kind of done everything from being a personal trainer, owning a gym, to running wellness programs. Can you share how you decided to start Online Fitness Pro and the type of clients you train?
Yeah, absolutely. I started Online Fitness Pro with the idea, the concept of it a couple of years ago. I had a client of mine that was, I had for a long time. He was, became a good friend of mine, and he moved away. And, he tried to continue with the program. He tried other trainers, and, I got a call about 6 months later. He said, Rich, I'm falling off the wagon here. I need some help. So I said, sure, I'll send you a couple of workouts, send me your food journals. I'll take a look at that, kind of get you back on track. And it started to work for him, and he's wanted more workouts and more workouts. And then when a couple of other my clients moved away, I started doing that for them as well. And something clicked. I'm like, hey, wait, there's an idea here. I don't have to train people in my hometown. I can train people from all over the place, and it worked for those clients. So I'm like, let me see if I can create a website that people can have all the tools that they need to be fit, and then have the coaching and the motivation that I provide for them. And that's what I ended up doing. And it took about a year or so to build our website. And we've been up and running now for almost 2 years.
Okay. And what are the profile of the clients you're working with?
Well, like I said, I've been doing this for 30 years, like you mentioned, and I've trained, every kind of person imaginable. But as I got older, my priorities changed, just like everyone else's does. I'm going to be 50 next month. And so I'm not so concerned with having six-pack abs anymore, or, looking good for girls, or whatever the issue is. I want to feel better. I want to move around without pain in my knees, without pain in my back or my neck. I want to be able to, I don't want to get diabetes. I don't want high blood pressure. I want to live a longer life. And so that's my priority that changed. And what happened was, I noticed as my priorities changed, so did my client base. I started to get more people with those same kind of issues. And because I have the 30 years of experience, I'm able to, recognize certain issues. Oh, you have a knee issue or a back issue. I've seen that before. I think we can take a look at this and fix this. And that's the kind of clients that I train right now. It's usually anywhere from 40, 50, 60 and on. And a lot of them have all kinds of issues, ranging from, health issues to replace knees and everything in between.
Okay. What would you say is probably the biggest challenge that most of your clients face?
Well, like I said, now that my clientele is older, I have to say still, it's always the people want to drop weight. As society is changing here, we've become a lot more of an immobile society. Our portion control is huge, so we're eating more and we're active less. So, losing weight is still the number one issue, but I still get a lot of clients that are looking for, that are pre-diabetic, that have high blood pressure, that, just had, a knee surgery that needs to start moving better. So, those are the kind of challenges that I deal with on a daily basis. And I've been doing that for a long time, like I said. So I'm good at recognizing these issues and being able to help them through. Sometimes it can be as simple as, certain stretches and things like that. I'll give you a quick example if you don't mind. Sure. I had a client of mine who was he's probably about 67 years old. He came to me with a hip issue. And, he couldn't figure out what it was. The doctors couldn't figure out what it was. He was thinking about getting surgery on it. I said, let me take a look at this. So I did a posture exam on him first. And what I realized was he was misaligned. He was tilted actually to the left about 5 or 6 degrees. You can't even tell that with the naked eye, but through the posture pictures I could. And so what I realized is that he was a golfer, avid golfer, and he carried his golf bag on his left side all the time. So that was creating an imbalance in his hips, and it was giving him this issue. So we used some of the corrective exercise that I do for hips. It took about 6 months. He's perfectly fine. Has a caddy now, not carrying his golf bags anymore, and he's playing golf still today.
Okay, now you mentioned you did a posture alignment. Now you're doing this online. How did you accomplish that online?
I currently do live training with in a wellness program here in town with a local doctor, and he does a lot of this posture stuff. And we can actually we use a website that we go to that my clients can click onto, can take the posture picture through their phone or their computer and download it to me, and I can get the results.
Okay, so so the distance really isn't an issue there because you have the technology that gives you the information to assess, the corrective, the issue, so you can come up with the right corrective behaviors and programs.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the computer's a wonderful device. It really helps me out. So it doesn't always have to be on the phone call. We can do a lot of things through the internet and stuff like that, just like the food logging we do as well. It's all done online, and I'm reviewing it every week and sending the feedback. And so yeah, we can. There's almost nothing that we can't do live that we can't do remotely.
Okay. Now you mentioned food logs, and you did talk about one of the biggest issues still is I got to lose weight, and for looking at the time of year, this is the holiday season or the I hope I don't gain 10 or 15 pounds season.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about how you go about working with people from a nutritional standpoint, because we all know that that's 80% of getting results in most weight loss programs is the eating. So how do you go about helping someone with their nutrition?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you cannot exercise a bad diet. Okay, so I can give you all the exercise in the world, but if you're not eating well, it's all for naught. So the problem is a lot of these diets out there, lose weight quick diets and no carbs and fasting and keto and all those diets. I mean, they're good and they do work for a time, but the problem is once it's over and they've lost their 15, 18 pounds, then what? Then what do they do? And 90% of the time they put the weight right back on. So what my approach to nutrition is very simple. It's taking what you eat and just modifying it and doing it in a slower process. This is not a quick weight loss type program. If you're looking for that, go somewhere else. But I'm trying to teach people how to eat healthy, not for a week or a month, but for the rest of their lives. So it all starts with what they eat. So the first time they become a member, they write down all their food for the week that they normally eat, everything that they eat, bad, good, indifferent, whatever. And then what I do is I take a look at that, and every week we make small changes. So I'll give you an example. If a client of mine is drinking 3 sodas every day, let's cut it down to 1. Okay, I can deal with that. So they do that, and here's one small change. And all of a sudden, they've lost a few pounds just because of that. And then we make the small changes in maybe the amount of carbohydrates they have or some of the eating choices that they make. So it's a slow and steady, but it slowly adapts them, because you can't take somebody that's been eating bad food or just having a really unhealthy diet and turning around and making them eat an extremely healthy diet. It will never work. It'll work for a short term. It will never work for a long term. So my idea is to just make sure that taking what they're eating and just making small changes week by week and teaching them. I mean, quite honestly, eating starts in the mind, not with the mouth. So you have to teach them how to eat properly. I have to teach them discipline, which for some people is very difficult to do. But I do have some steps that I use to teach people how to be disciplined with their eating, how to make smart choices. And again, this is not perfect. I'm dealing with people that have regular everyday lives. They go to parties, there's holidays, there's all kinds of that stuff. And I'm not saying they have to eat perfect all the time, but if they make healthy choices and they're smart about what they eat, it goes a long way into their overall health.
Maybe you could give us a couple of examples of what you would teach someone so that they would make better choices, especially now because we are in the holiday season, and there's probably between now and the Super Bowl, there's going to be at least 10 or 15 parties that everybody must go to.
Well, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I wrote an article about that just a couple of weeks ago, which I'm going to put on my blog. And it's about that exact thing. And some of the suggestions that I have, I know the holidays are rough, but there's a couple of things you can do to just be smart about it. Number one, I always tell my clients on days that there's nothing going on, days that there's no party or no friends over or no holiday, eat well, eat good. There's no reason why you can't eat good. The holidays doesn't mean you can cheat a little every single day. Okay. I also tell them too, when they're going to, say they are going to a holiday party, couple of tips there. Number one, you want to make sure you have a meal before you go. Don't starve yourself. Don't go there starved. And when you actually get there, and this is a small little one, but it works really well. Never sit by where the food is. Go to because you're going to have to actually, if you want some snacks or a chip, you have to get up, move over there, and get it. So it cuts down the constant eating of the chips or whatever you're eating. And then I tell them too, if you're going to a party, make a smart choice. You don't have to eat perfect, but instead of the cocktail weenies, why don't you have something a little bit better instead? Those small things go a long way. And the other key that I always preach to people is have some accountability. Find a friend or a relative or a family member and say, hey, let's kind of do this together. Let's kind of be accountable to each other and eat decent over the holiday season, and try not to put on that 5 or 10 pounds that we always do.
Okay, those are pretty simple, doable things, and each one of them can add. In of themselves is not going to make a big difference, but if you do several of them, you're, instead of eating bad, you can have a so-so day. And if you're eating good 80% of the rest of the days, you're not going to pack on the pounds.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a realist. I understand that people are not going to be eating perfect all holiday season, and that's okay. But if we can have some good damage control, that way, come January, we don't have the pants fitting as snug and tight.
Okay. Now, my primary audience is people over 50, and that's a lot of your client base. And most people over 50 have tried and failed at either a diet or an exercise program at least once, if not multiple times, because they don't stay with it long enough to get the results. Because like you said, this is not a quick fix. And I don't care what anybody says. What people want is a quick fix, but it doesn't exist. There is no magic bullet. So you got to get them to buy into the sustainable, so they work at it long enough to get the results they want. How do you help people from stay with the program long enough to get the results that they're looking for?
Well, the number one thing, I'm honest with them. I tell them like it is. There's a lot of those lose weight quick plans and, try this ab exercise for a flat belly, and all that stuff is so misleading to so many people. So the idea is just to be honest. I start, all my clients, I have a great relationship with my clients, and I tell them like it is. I tell them the real, how this needs to be done and how this is going to work and how this needs to be a lifestyle decision. It has to be a lifestyle choice. And this is not an overnight thing. And especially when you're dealing with clients over 50, you can't jump them into an exercise program and have them do an hour and a half of, all kinds of crazy stuff. They're going to end up getting hurt and drop out. So what I tell them is that what we have to do first is small progression. I usually find out what areas I do a fit test on my clients. I find out what areas they're having struggles with, if it's a knee issue or a balance issue or their core is weak. And what I do is my first priority is to fix those issues as best as I can. And once we get that stuff all fixed, then we can start, taking the workouts to another level. But it's all about progress, and everybody's different. I'll give you, an example. I have Rich, who is a client of mine. He is a business exec. He's always on traveling. He used to be a great athlete, and he let things, kind of slide. And so he was. We started with him, and he was into it. He was ready to go. So we got him fixed up, all the areas that we needed to fix, and he's just been on a tear ever since. I was able to move him up quicker up the ladder, and he pushed and he kept going. And he's doing fantastic right now. He lost about 40 pounds. Feels great. When he goes on the road now, I send him his workouts. He works out in the hotel room. is fantastic. But then I'll have a client like Tina, who's, she's about 55 years old. She's, a mom of a couple, and she's very emotional. She's overweight. She needs a lot of help, and so with her, I have to be much more encouraging. I have to cater to her emotional stuff, and the workouts and progression has to be very slow because she has a lot of issues. But that small rewards. The other day she did a plank for the first time for 1 full minute. That was a big deal for her. So I called her up. I congratulated her. I told her it was a great job, and she was so happy that I was happy about it. And so you have to deal with clients differently, and the progressions are differently with every client. So, with my 30 years experience, I've seen all these type of people, and I've seen this kind of thing. So I know how to deal with people like that.
Okay. I want to drill down a little bit into what you actually do with your clients and and I want to start with when you do the initial assessment and determine where they are and what they need to work on. You said you do kind of a fit test and identify where they're. Can you get a little more specific about what you actually do and how you do that, especially when you're doing it, online, so that people would have an idea of what kind of assessments you would make and how would you determine what they can and can't do? Because that's probably the biggest thing is you don't want them, you want it to be challenging enough, but you don't want them to do something where they physically aren't capable yet.
Correct. So what we do is the first thing we do when you decide that you want to become a member or you're inferring, I do a free 1 hour consultation. And that hour consultation is where we're going to talk. I'm going to find out about you, your life situation, what your goals are, what kind of issues you do have, get to know what kind of personality you have. I want you to get to know me as well, because this is a relationship. A relationship between a trainer and a client is just like, it's almost like a married couple. All my clients are very good friends of mine. I probably know more about them than their wives and their kids do. So there has to be that good relationship. So once I've got all that information, then I have them do a fit test. I have a simple test that I send them to do. I want them to videotape it and or just record on their phone and send it to me. And it deals with things like we're looking at core issues. We're looking at balance issues, knee, all that kind of stuff. And I can see the posture and how they perform these exercises. And then what I do from there, then I can make my assessment. I can see what we need. We're going to call them again. I'm going to talk again. And then we'll come up with our plan of attack. Say, listen, this is what we need to work on, A, B, C, or D. This is what kind of shape you're in. So moving forward, the plan is going to be this. This is what we're going to start. Now, the plan is never set in stone. I may have to change things. I may have to modify things. It depends on how the progress goes. But it's that slow progression. And it seems to work with my clients, little by little. And after a while, hopefully they get it. And, like we said before, it takes 28 days to form a new habit. So, I tell them right off the bat, I'm like, you need to give me at least 8 weeks. All right, give me 8 weeks, follow my program 8 weeks. And then if you're not happy with it, you're not seeing results, you can go your ways. I'll give you all your money back. It doesn't matter to me. But what I've noticed is, come the 8 weeks, I'm like, look at what you did in workout number 1, and now look what you can do today. And it's amazing. They're like, wow, I can't believe I can do this. I never thought I could. And that's what I try to get them to that 8 week point. Once I can get them there, it's become part of their lifestyle. It's become a habit to them, and it's much easier for them to keep on track and keep moving.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about the sessions themselves. So you write out, you talked about your food logs where you look at their food. Now in their exercise, you give them a program to do. Can you give an example of what a typical program would do and how often they would be expected to do it?
Yes. What I do is I usually send them 3 workouts per week. Okay. My workouts consist of 3 sections. The first part of my workout is posture and flexibility. So that's where we work on things like back issues, shoulder issues, core, flexibility, all that kind of stuff. I think that's extremely important that a lot of programs don't include. So I need you in good posture. If you're in good posture, your chances of getting a knee injury or back injury or shoulder injury are reduced a lot. So once we do the posture section, we go to the strength. I think everyone needs resistance training. I don't care if you're 18 or you're 65. Resistance training is good for a couple of reasons. Number one, it helps protect your joints and your ligaments from injury. Number two, it helps you burn more calories. A muscle burns 8 times more calories than fat does. So it's a good part with that as well. And then the third part I do is cardiovascular. So we need to strengthen the heart. We want to burn some calories as well. So the third portion of my workouts will be cardiovascular. Now it's treadmill and bike and that kind of stuff is okay, but I do more of a functional fitness type of cardio, where we'll do things like jumping jacks, or we'll do high knees or box step-ups. Depending on the client, whether they can do that or not. I do a high impact, a zero impact version of it. But the idea is to get the heart rate up and then bring it down, get it up and bring it down, the cardio portion. And then that way they're getting the 3 key elements to work out. They're getting their posture, they're getting their strength, and they're getting their cardio. Now, since I'm not there personally, we talk every week. So every client has a 15-minute conversation with me per week. And then we'll discuss, how did the workouts go? What did you have a problem with? How is, we'll discuss the food logs. And from that talk, I can adjust the workouts for the next week so we can have it fit them, better, and then move forward along like that. So that's kind of how we set it up with my clients. They can text me anytime they want if they're having an issue. I can always talk to them. I try to be as open as I can and as available as I can, since I'm not physically there with them. But what I've learned with all the clients that I've had so far, it's worked perfectly. Everyone's been able to do their workouts. Another key thing that I do, sorry to talk so long, but I have them tell me the exact days and times they're going to work out every week on the phone, and I hold them to that. So I tell them to get out their phone, get out their calendar, give me 3 days that we're going to work out. I'm going to work out Monday at 2, Thursday at 6, and Saturday morning. Okay, fantastic. And you'll get a text from me a couple hours after that asking you if you did your workout. So it's the accountability factor of it, and that definitely helps them make sure they get their workouts accomplished.
And how do you track their actual progress other than saying, gee, it's going well?
What I do is I'm not a big fan of the weight scale, so I don't do that often. Sometimes I'll have them take measurements, but I go by, a lot of times I just go by how they're doing. They'll tell me, my pants, I've dropped 2 sizes in my pants, are doing fantastic. Or, and some of the other clients that I have as well that have a lot of medical issues, such as blood pressure, diabetes and things like that, cholesterol problems. Some of them I actually send them out for blood work. And and what I'll do is in every 6-month period, I'll have them go for another blood work test just to see where their blood sugars are and their diabetes is, high blood pressure and all that. So I'll do that. But all in all, I pretty much go with how they're going to tell me. Believe me, they're going to tell me how they're doing. They're either going to be doing good, or if they're not, then hey, let's figure out what's the problem. Let's figure out how to correct it.
Okay. Now I want to talk a little bit about. You said you're in favor of doing kind of functional fitness, for the cardio, as opposed to the stationary bike or treadmill. Why do you feel functional fitness is a better fit for your clients?
Well, I think it, number one, it definitely gets the heart rate up there faster than the treadmill or the bike does. And number two, functional fitness, again, it's working on our core, it's working on movement. And these are things that people that are over 50, are having issues with. So by doing, we'll do jumping jacks, or then we'll go to squats, or we'll do push-ups and things like this. All this functional fitness stuff helps them with their flexibility and helps them with their posture as well. So not only are we getting with the posture part, we're also getting with the cardiovascular. So, I'll tell you, a lot of the clients that I have, I'll give them, their cardio portion of their workouts to do, and they look at it and like, okay, I'll do that. And they do it, and they come back like, wow, Rich, that really kicked my ass really good. I go on the treadmill, and I never feel like after I'm done with this. So I do that. Now, like I said, sometimes I do have them do the treadmill and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a fine cardiovascular as well. But I think they're going to get more benefits, especially over the over 50 crowd, of more core and balance, stability type exercises, which they desperately need. So incorporating that with the cardio, I think, is a double plus.
And it also helps them, functional helps them with their balance and movement which is part of the thing in your day-to-day life. You aren't on a treadmill. You aren't in a stationary situation. You are moving, and so that's another benefit for the kind of functional cardio that you talk about. Now I want to go back to the strength. What kind of exercises do you do for strength? Because not everybody may have access to a gym, or they may have a gym with different kinds of equipment. So how do you determine what strength exercises to use, and what are the ones that you find tend to be the ones that give you the best benefits?
Well, what I do first is I've got to find out what your situation is. So, whether you work out at a gym or you work out at home, or if you have no equipment, I can design the workout, based on that. So what I'll do is I'll find out what they have available, but basically we can do it with just, even the worst case scenario, usually I have my clients at least buy an exercise band, which they can attach to a door or anything. And you can do a full body resistance training workout with one exercise band. And you can do it at home. It's not that hard to do. As you get more advanced, I'd like you to pick up a few extra things. So sometimes if you're home, I might ask you to get a pair of dumbbells or a kettlebell or something like that for our strength. If you go to the gym, I'm going to ask you what kind of equipment you have. Usually I know what most of the gym equipment does contain. But I'm trying to shy away from a lot of the circuit machines that do the work for you. Again, I'm more in the functionality of the exercise, especially with the over 50 crowd. So instead of doing a shoulder press on the machine, I want you to take 2 dumbbells and I want you to press them over your head. It's going to help, again, with balance, with stability, with core. It's going to do all that kind of stuff. So I'll find out what they have and what I can work with, and then we go from there. What type of workouts I give them is totally dependent on what they need and what I see they're lacking in their assessment. So, but we make sure we try to cover all the ground. I try to cover, all the muscles from every angle. We're going to do pushing movements. We're going to do pulling movements. We're going to do overhead movements. We're going to do, squatting and leg movements and work on our hamstrings. I want to try to get the entire body involved in our workouts. So with the over 50 crowd, they seem to like that better as opposed to working on a certain body part and another body part on another day. They want to get in. They want a full workout. They want to leave and feel like, wow, I really worked pretty much everything.
Now, in working with your people, how important is recovery from a workout when working with your clients?
Well, if you're not fully recovered, it's a waste of time to go work out again. So you have to make sure the workouts are fit them, that they're not going to be sore for 3, 4, 5 days. Because what happens is some people do know, but some people may not know, that you do your strength, your muscles grow not when you're exercising, but when you're resting. You're exercising, you're actually tearing down muscle fibers. When you're resting, that's when your body is recovering. That's when it's using the protein and it's building the muscle. So if you never give it that rest period, that chance for the muscle to repair and grow, and you go work out again before that happens, your workouts for nothing. It's kind of a waste. So the idea is to make sure that they have, if I give them 3 workouts a week, we're going to space that out. I want at least a day rest in between each one. And if they're feeling sore, I tell them, take a second day off. And we also may throw, like with a lot of my clients, especially if they're looking to lose weight a little bit, I'm going to have them do a little extra cardio on their own. And that they can go for a walk, or they can go a bike ride, or they can use a treadmill. Just to keep moving on off days. Okay,
that makes sense because it is getting people to really recognize and understand their body and how it works and how it feels and how it recovers is very, very important. Because we think, we can just go back and do what we used to do, and sometimes not so much. And then like you said, it's a wasted workout if your body hasn't recovered enough because you're just continuing to breaking your body down, which puts the body in inflammation, which isn't good. So it's having them understand that, so that it is learning about to understand their body and for them to talk to you about that, so you can adjust your training accordingly.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. The idea with this website is to teach people personal responsibility, because they're more than likely, I like them to be, but they're probably not going to be with me for the rest of their lives. So I want to set them up. So if something does change or they're not with me anymore, they're gonna have enough information. They're gonna know enough things that they can do this on their own. They're gonna have, hopefully, if they ever leave me, they're gonna have their discipline. They're gonna have they're going to be eating well. They're going to know how to eat well. They're going to know how to exercise and the pitfalls and things they need to avoid and watch out for. So I encourage personal responsibility. That's with this website. That's what it's about. Is people going out there and getting. Now, I'm going to be there to encourage you and motivate you, make sure you go. But what happens with a lot of my clients after a while, after 6 months, a year, or 2 years, they're on, they're just going. I call them up. They say how they're doing. We talk about their kids for a while, and I send them their new workouts. So that's when I can get a person to that position, then I've done my job.
Okay. Now, online personal training is a relatively new field. And with anything new, there's a lot of misconceptions for people, especially who haven't tried it or don't know anybody that's doing it. So what are some of the biggest misconceptions clients have about working with an online personal trainer? And how do you help them overcome those concerns?
Well, the biggest concern is obviously the fact that I am not sitting right next to them when they're doing their workout. So that's the big thing that they're concerned about, because this is not a Beachbody type program. This is a personalized, customized workout program. So they have I'll give you an example. I had a client of mine, Karen, who recently actually moved away. And she was like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. You got me in such great shape. I don't know. So I told her about the online program, and she was so apprehensive about it. She's like, I'm not going to be able to do this by myself. I can't do this, whatever. So I was like, listen, just try this for a couple of weeks. I'm going to send you workouts. We'll talk every week, and, find yourself a place to go work out. Let's see if this is a good fit for you. So she did. And, within a month, she's like, hey, this is just like when you were there. I'm like, well, exactly. That's what I'm looking to do now. Like I said, I'm not physically there, so that is something that people are worried about. But the idea is to keep my line of communication open to people, to talk to them as much as I can through text, through our weekly phone calls, to make sure checking up on them that they're doing their workouts. That seems to work for most people. They can do that. That'll give them I usually give them time limits on their workouts too, to make sure they're progressing correctly and they're doing it within the amount of time that I want them to. So their intensity is up there. But so that's probably the biggest misconception. And, another misconception too is that, the hardest part is just getting them to have a consultation with me. Once I can talk to them for 30 minutes and explain the program and how this works, they feel much more comfortable, and they're much more willing to give this a try. But, on the upside of this, there's two great pluses to online training here. Number one is you're not getting a kid from a gym that has paid $150 for a certification where it takes some tests and he's good to go. The thing with online training is you're usually going to get a top of the line type trainer, someone with a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, that's going to be able to pass that down to you. And the second thing is the expense. It's hiring a personal trainer 3 times a week is a lot of money. And through my website, I mean, it's a fraction of that, and you're getting your workouts, you're getting your coaching from an expert trainer, and you're getting your food checked, and we're talking every day at a much less cost of having a trainer there with you at a gym 3 times a week. So the money is substantial. And so that's that, and the experience of a good trainer are two definitely big pluses as far as online training goes.
All right. Now, there's a lot of people that, are thinking about hiring a personal trainer, but they find it kind of overwhelming, kind of intimidating. So what advice would you give people that are over 50 that are thinking about maybe hiring an online personal trainer? What are some guidelines or recommendations you give them so they would pick someone that would be right for them?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing you want to do is, without a doubt, always make sure that whatever trainer you're looking at or thinking about is certified. Okay. For insurance reasons, number one, and number two, at least if they have the certification, they kind of know what they're doing. But the biggest thing I think, whether you're considering a trainer at a gym or an online trainer, is you need to sit down and you need to talk to that person. It's got to be a good fit. I do a free consultation. There is no obligation to that whatsoever. So if you sign up for that consultation, we're going to talk for a half hour. We're just going to get to know each other and just kind of explain where I'm at, where you're at. And, that what that does is that puts the client at ease a lot of times. And they're like, this is a guy I can can work with this guy. He's a pretty cool dude. And you can go from there. So, and the same thing with any other personal trainer is sit down and talk to them and make sure it's a good fit. If you don't think they're the right type of person for you, go to somebody else. Make sure somebody is knowledgeable, make sure someone has some experience, and tell them what your goals and plans are, and let them come up with, what their plans are for you. And then from there, you can figure out whether you want to do this or not. Never jump in and just say, I want to buy, get whatever amount of sessions, whatever trainer, and here's my money. Don't do that. Make sure you get a right fit. And it always starts with talking to the trainer and just making sure it's a good fit.
Yeah, and making sure that, that if you have specific issues and they don't seem familiar with what those issues are, then you should probably talk to another trainer that has worked with people with those kinds of specific issues or help them reach those type of goals.
Absolutely.
And, that's the advantage of online is that you can pick and choose and find the right person.
Absolutely.
Now, Richard, if people want to get a hold of you and learn more about your program, where would they go to get more information?
Well, it's real simple. I got everything on the website. Like I said, the goal of this website was to have everything in one particular place. So if you go to www.onlinefitpro.com, you're going to see my blog there. You can see all the articles that I've written and all the information there as well. And there's an area right in the front there for a free 30-minute consult. And all you got to do is put your name, phone number, and email, and click send, and I'll get in contact with you, find out when it's a good time for us to chat, and we'll chat. I'm not a salesman. I'm not going to sit there and push you into a program you're not going to want to do. I'm going to explain to you what I do. I'm going to explain to you the program. I'm going to explain to you how I can help you. And if you think that meets your criteria, then fantastic. Go ahead and let's get started. If you don't, well, that's fine. There's no obligation to that as well. But most of the time, 99% of the time, once I can talk to you and explain what I'm going to do, it's mostly a go.
Well, that's great. Well, Rich, I want to thank you so much for sharing your insights, because trying to explain what an online personal trainer does seems kind of overwhelming for people, but you did a great job of kind of explaining how you start them, how you personalize the program, you look at their nutrition, and then stay with them until they get the results they want. So I really thank you for sharing your time. And again, good luck with your business.
Well, thank you, Phil, for having me. I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun.
All right. Thank you.
You've been listening to Never Too Late for Fitness Radio, hosted by Phil Ferris. To learn more about the guests or resources on our show today, or to listen to past episodes, go to nevertoolateforfitness.com.